Welcome! This is MCG Tech with an overclocked $150 budget gaming PC build. To start off, I want to say that I do plan to come back to this computer in the future with a CPU and GPU upgrade, but for now, I am going to show you this computer's performance before the upgrade. The base of this computer is a H55 LGA 1156 Intel motherboard, which came in a bundle with an i5 650. While this motherboard sadly does not support the Intel X34 family of CPUs, it does support quad-core i5s, which I plan on purchasing considering their reasonable price. But for now, I'm going to stick with the Core i5 650 clocked at 3.2 GHz, which has similar performance to the Q6600 in multi-core applications, and that is before overclocking. Another thing to keep in mind is that this bundle also did include an aluminum Intel stock cooler. The total cost of this package on eBay was $42. For my graphics card, I am using a HD 5770 sporting 1GB of DDR3 RAM. Considering how I pulled this card from a computer I bought, after subtracting the cost of the other components, I will value this card at $30. Some of you longtime viewers may recognize this card from my eMachine Sleeper project, but considering how I have not been using that computer much, I decided to put it to work in this computer build. For RAM, I am using 4 sticks of 4GB 1600 speed DDR3 RAM. I bought this off of Letgo for $40. Although this may seem like overkill considering the other components in this build, I do think it will make a lot more sense when I upgrade the other components. For storage, I am using a 250GB Western Digital Blue 7200 RPM hard drive, which I picked up for $3. The power supply I will be using in this build is a 550 watt Corsair power supply. I bought this PSU used for $10. 550 watts should be able to easily support future upgrades and even some more power-hungry GPUs. And finally, I bought a Corsair Series 760T full tower case for $25 off of Letgo. The person I bought it from was upfront about the fact that the back side panel did not close all the way, but the stunning aesthetics more than made up for that issue. Altogether, the total cost of this build is $150 and has a lot of potential to improve with some minor enhancements. But without further ado, it is time for you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the build montage. Now that the build is complete, let's begin testing and overclocking. Starting with the CPU, at stock clock speeds, this computer scored 193 CB in Cinebench. and 2,340 single-core and 4,872 multi-core in Geekbench. After overclocking the i5-650 from 3.2 GHz to 3.56 GHz and boosting the memory to 1.6 volts, I confirmed stability and retested. In Cinebench, this computer now scored 278 CB. Meanwhile, in Geekbench, single-core performance rose to 2,918, and multi-core performance rose to 5,766. Taking into account that the stock cooler is fully aluminum, I was very pleased with these results. I went through the same process for overclocking the HD 5770. At stock settings, this GPU scored 51.36 FPS in Cinebench and 22,541 in the OpenCL Geekbench test. After overclocking to 875 MHz for the GPU and 1,220 MHz for the memory clock, I retested. This GPU now scored 53.51 FPS in Cinebench and 23,168 in Geekbench. Although these are not huge improvements, they should help produce a few more frames. Moving on to gameplay, the first game I tested was CSGO. At 1080p, this game ran very smoothly, even in the most intense conflicts. The fluidity of this game can easily be seen by the fact that the minimum was at least 60 FPS at medium and high settings. Obviously, if you are a very competitive player, you can always tweak the settings to get an average of over 100 FPS at a mixture of high and medium settings. Next, I tested Insurgency at 1080p. This game was also very playable, even though I benchmarked it on a full 32-person server. If you want that silky smooth 60 FPS average, I would recommend sticking to medium settings for this game. Recently, I added Warface to my testing panel because it is a more intensive first-person shooter. At 1080p, this game was enjoyable at both medium and high settings. Sadly, this computer was not able to hit that golden 60 FPS average, even at medium settings. Finally, I tested Fortnite at 1080p. Even though this computer did struggle with this game more than with the others, it still was a playable experience. If you are a more competitive gamer, you may need to combine medium and low settings in order to get the most out of this computer. In conclusion, I believe this build performed pretty well for $150. One great thing about this build is that the power supply does have extra wattage for future upgrades. Additionally, this build has the advantage of 4 times as much RAM as the budget PC under $90. If you want to see this computer get bumped up to a quad-core and utilize a superior GPU, stay tuned. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to check out the rest of the content on this channel. Thank you for watching.